Hello, hello. This is Adelaide Brown, your heart coach. This is Adelaide Brown, your heart coach, and I just wanted to jump on today and have a little bit of heart talk with you. This is October. Today is October the 5th. Five is the number of grace. So I believe that we have grace to have these conversations and make the changes and the shifts that we need to make in our families and our communities so that we can continuously build heart equity. What is heart equity? Heart equity is personal, relational, and financial wealth that is built through authentic living. It is very important for us to live authentically. It is very important for us to tell our truth and share our truth, regardless of how it sounds or how we're perceived. And that's really important as we make the shifts that we need to make in our current society, right? There's a lot going on. I was reading today that there have been 531 mass shootings in America this year so far, and this is the beginning of October. Just a number like that, mass shootings, 531 in our country, like just a number like that is speaking to the state of where we are and what we're going through. And even when we think about this being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this also being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and like I feel like breast cancer in and of itself is a form of domestic violence, right? And then when you think about domestic violence, a lot of times people think couples, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, fussing and fighting with each other. But a lot of times people don't realize domestic violence can be siblings, it can be, amongst family members, parents and children. And another thing that I would like to share with you is that a lot of times we think of domestic violence, and it's pretty much typically when it's defined as like physical, sexual, emotional, economic, psychological, technological actions or threats of actions or other. Let me finish reading this. Domestic violence is a pattern of abuse behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another intimate partner. Domestic violence can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, psychological, or technological actions or threats of actions or other patterns of coercive behavior that influence another person within an intimate partner relationship. This includes any behaviors that intimidate, manipulate, humiliate, isolate, frighten, terrorize, coerce, threaten, blame, hurt, injure, or wound someone, right? All of those are definitions of I want to talk about domestic violence from the sense of you being violent towards yourself, right? The thoughts that you think, those beliefs that you have, those beliefs breed those thoughts, right? Those thoughts breed those beliefs. Those beliefs breed those thoughts. Those thoughts lead to behaviors, right? Those behaviors lead to you taking action. And like one thing you need to understand is as we raise awareness this month, and we're talking about domestic violence because it is a very real thing. I remember being in elementary school and boyfriends and girlfriends fighting and just going back and forth with one another. And it was all about maintaining control. It was all about one person having that control, that leadership over, that ability to get the other person to do whatever it was that they wanted them to do. And I just remember thinking, and even myself being in situations of domestic violence, whether I was inflicting it or it was being inflicted on me, however it went, I've been in those situations. One thing I realized is in order for domestic violence to take place, it must first be going on inside the individual. So people like to talk so much about domestic violence, but I really want to talk about domestic healing. Because you really need to take the time to invest in yourself. You need to take the time to work on yourself so that domestically, right? The definition of domestic is relating to the running of a home or to family relations, right? The definition of violence, behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something, right? It's also a strength of emotion or an unpleasant or destructive natural force. So a strength of emotion, an unpleasant or destructive natural force that is relating to being inflicted upon the home and the relations of the family. Like we like to talk about healing our families and healing our communities and making change and bringing about change. And all of that is good and all of that is important. And we absolutely need to do that. But the thing we need to understand is that we cannot heal the family if we're not making sure that each individual that's participating in the family is healed, is healthy, is whole, is living a complete life. Because if not, they're going to bring that unpleasant strength of emotion that is destructive. That's a natural force that can be destructive. Why? Because they are diseased with themselves, right? They are experiencing some type of dis-ease within themselves. And so that's the thing I want you to think about. When you look at domestic violence, we like to think of like some angry man or someone that might be, just down on his luck and just wanting to feel bad about himself or very full of his pride and ego. This is the image that I've seen portrayed, like this man beating on this helpless woman. But the truth of the matter is everyone, men, women, children, boys, girls, even older and our more seasoned family and friends go through domestic violence. But I want to challenge you to domestically heal. Like I want you to start looking within yourself. If you are currently in a relationship where you're domestically experiencing violence, if you're the violator or you're being violated, it really doesn't matter. Everyone is being hurt in this situation. It does matter. Let me be clear. It does matter. And you should never stay in a situation that is unsafe. Let me say that. And a lot of times I've realized when people are in relationships with domestic violence is involved, there's a lot of love involved. There's a lot of connection involved, right? We talk about family, domestic, running of a home or relations, family relations. So when things are domestic, you're usually used to being close-knit and being tight, right? And if the violence is domestic, that means the violence is going to run through your family. So even if you're a couple and you two fight, like you might have a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, y'all get upset with each other, y'all have these fights. You might not physically beat your kids or discipline your children physically. However, the fact that you're physically hurting each other, it's going to pass down. Domestic violence is a lot of times, in many situations, a generational thing. If you are in a relationship that's violent, almost always one of your parents was in a violent relationship. Probably one of your grandparents was in a violent relationship. And it doesn't always have to be physical. It could be financial. It could be technological. It could be emotional, verbal, psychological. But what I'm saying is we have to stop playing the blame game and start healing. Like if you're in an abusive situation, you have to stop making excuses to continue to endure the abuse. If you're contributing to it as well, you need to pull yourself out of that situation. A lot of us are being challenged with the fact that you got to do something new. You got to make that move. You got to draw the line. You have to establish boundaries and make a decision. When I think about the 6 steps that transformed my life, right, I was domestically violent. What am I saying? I was harmful to myself. I thought negatively about myself. I manipulated myself. I judged myself. I talked harshly to myself. I self-sabotaged myself financially, relationally, in all kinds of ways. So that's domestic violence in its purest, most intimate form. We like to look outwardly at our partners and how they're mistreating us. How are you treating yourself? We teach people how to treat us. And in order for this abuse to stop, you could even be single right now and still going through domestic violence because of what you're doing to yourself. It's time for you to let Christ in. It's time for you to really sub to the mission that is in front of you. Like God has a work that is in store for you that only you can do, and you really have to do it. You have to be willing to just show up. You have to be willing to be made to look like a fool. You have to be willing to be rejected. You have to be willing for people to just turn away from you. You have to be willing to go through all of that for you to domestically heal. Like a lot of you might be going through things in your family, and you might be going through things on your job, and a lot of that is just trying to get your attention to tell you, work on you, heal you, allow God in so that you can work on you. Too many of us are serving from empty cups. You're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a change. You're going to have to put yourself in position to heal from the inside out. Stop trying to do all kind of things to your external appearance and try to present yourself the way you would like people to perceive you to be, instead of putting that effort into actually being the person you're presenting to others. Forget the representative. We want the real you. The real you can bring about healing in your family. The real you can bring about healing in your home. But if you won't be honest about how angry you are, and this is the truth, we will accept anger over accepting sadness a lot of times. So many of us present ourselves as angry, but really you're not even angry. You're hurt. You're disappointed. You feel abandoned. You feel rejected. And because it requires vulnerability to express that, and many of us don't want to be vulnerable, so the one thing our culture will accept is anger, which is why we're dealing with so much violence. Violence in the music, violence in the movies, violence in the video games. Everything is shoot, kill, fight. Everything is so aggressive. Why? Because we are hurting. The earth is groaning. The earth is getting hot. We had the hottest summer on record in modern history. When the Lord said he was coming back, he said he was coming back by fire, not by water. And it's the earth is heating up. Y'all, we got to get it together. We have to heal. It's a lot of you in relationships right now that are absolutely toxic. But you stay because you're worried about how it looks on social media. You stay because you're worried about what your family has to say. You stay because you're worried about the image, because you're more concerned with what people think about you than how you feel about yourself. But you don't realize that how you feel about yourself is what is driving all of the actions that you are taking, or the lack thereof. You're slipping in areas that you shouldn't be slipping in, and you are very up to date and well versed in things that you shouldn't know anything about. Why? Because you're domestically violent. And I am not trying to make light of this, being a survivor of this, helping others who have come out of domestic violence, being a perpetrator of domestic violence. Let me be very clear. I haven't always made perfect actions, and I've never professed that, and many of us don't. But it's funny how we often have to preface with that when we come with a correction or some type of guidance. But guess what? At the end of the day, none of us are perfect. We're all going to fall short. However, that is not an excuse to continue to play small and live below what you were called to live on, the level you were called to live on. And all I'm saying to you is this month, as you hear the testimonies and you hear about people have come over, have overcome domestic violence, no matter what side they were on, whether they were the ones being abused, the ones that were the abusers, or both. One thing you need to understand is no matter what we do with other people, it's always going to be a reflection of how we feel on the inside. The Bible says that out of the heart flows the issues of life. Your heart, the state of your heart is so important. The state of your heart, your soul is going to determine where you spend eternity. Not your body, that you spend all this time trying to make sure it looks so good and it's so healthy, which you should. But your body is not going to determine whether you go to heaven or hell. Your soul, your heart will. It's time for you to heal your heart. It is time for you to tell the truth. And I'm going to tell you, I took these 6 steps to heal my heart, and I've helped hundreds of other people do the same. And I just want you to know that no matter what steps you use, you get this Bible, you start reading, you get you a dictionary, get you a concordance, you ask God to help you. I don't care if you are the person who is being abused, you ask God to help you to get out of that situation. If you're the abuser, ask God to help you get out of that situation and help you to control yourself. Even if you're being abused, because the truth of the matter is, a lot of us are just out of control and out of order because we are in so much pain. We're trying to anesthetize the pain. Food isn't going to do it. Shopping isn't going to do it. Sex isn't going to do it. Porn isn't going to do it. Drugs isn't going to do it. Travel isn't going to do it. Therapy isn't going to do it. Guess what? You can get all of those things, but if your heart doesn't have the right posture, if you're not committed to the transformation, it's not going to happen. Even Jesus can't do it if you don't submit to him and say you want him to. So stop being domestically violent towards yourself. Stop having that negative self-talk and telling yourself how much you can't do it and how it won't work out for you and getting upset with people who are calling you to a higher standard because they see something in you that maybe you don't see in yourself. Stop allowing people, stop being a people pleaser. That's so dishonest, not just to you, but to other people. Let your no be no and your yes be yes. Look, I'm still working on that. It's the residue. But be honest to God about where you are. Like I cry out to God, y'all. I'm going to go through these 6 steps real quick. I'm going to tell you, I cry out to God. I do the first step. I connect. I have to stay connected to my source. Just like this charger. This is the charger, right? It's not going to charge my phone unless I connect it to the source. This charger is plugged up. It could plug my phone, but if I don't connect my phone to this charger, it's not going to charge. So you can say you believe in God all you want to, and yeah, you this and that with God, but if you don't get connected to the light of the world, the source, the strength, if you don't get connected, I respect all faith. Mine is from Christ. That's the first and primary thing you have to do. That's the foundational thing. You've got to get connected. You've got to get your heart right with God. And then once you do that, then now you can become more aware. It's like once you get connected, it's just like when your phone is dead and you plug up the charger, it can light up again. When you get connected, now you can have awareness. Things can start to, the light can start to shine into the darkness that has been in your life. right? So now you become aware and you start to notice things about you and your environment. When you start to domestically heal and when you really pull away from being domestically violent towards yourself, you're going to be surprised at how people show themselves. You're going to be surprised at how you start to see how the relationships that you thought the relationships you were in, the situations you found yourself in weren't what you thought they were. Right? They didn't turn out how you thought they were going to turn out. And guess what? It doesn't mean that those people are bad or those situations were bad. You now have awareness and you can see things clearly. It's just like trying to find something in the dark. You need light, right? Like I have cut that light on. Now I cut this light back on. You can see the difference. You need light. That's what awareness does. It brings light to the situation. That's the second step, right? And this is my 6-step divine heart transplant process. This is where we take ourselves to this transformational experience where we can live authentically, right? And build heart equity. So the first step is connection. The second step, you now have awareness. You bring in light into that darkness. Now, the third thing is you have to accept what you're now starting to find. It's kind of like if you ever rub your hand under like a desk at school and it's like you run across chewing gum that other people put there or who knows what is under their candy and all kind of things. And it's uncomfortable, but you just have to accept the fact that, yeah, you touched that nasty stuff. It was there. It is what it is. A lot of us are trying to wish away our past. When you start to become aware and you start to notice why you feel the way you feel, why you went through the things you went through, this wasn't what you thought it was. That person wasn't who you thought they were. And now you have to accept the truth of the matter. You have to accept what's true about you and your part that you played in it or the lack thereof. Acceptance is a very sobering thing. It's like owning up. I did it. I'm caught. Okay, yeah, I messed up. That's acceptance, right? Just owning up to this, it is what it is. This is what I found when I got connected. I connected my light to the source connection, and that light made me more aware. And I have to accept now what I've found since I have shined that light in my life in these dark areas, in these hidden areas. Do you know the things that are controlling your life that you're not even consciously aware of? The times people said things to you and did things to you that you stuck on the inside and never dealt with, but those are the very things that are driving each and every step you take and decision you make every day. This stuff is real. So the first step, after you accept that what's going on in your life, now you got to forgive. You got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive them. You got to forgive the dog, forgive the teacher, forgive the milkman, forgive the mailman, forgive that person that violated you, forgive that person that abandoned you, forgive the person that rejected you. Like you were made aware. You had to accept the fact that you have a bad attitude because of the things you went through in your past. You felt rejected. You felt abandoned. You developed that attitude to protect you from that rejection and that abandonment. And now you have to forgive yourself for the recklessness that you have caused because of that bad attitude. That's what these 4 steps look like so far. That's how that would go. You got connected. You start praying. You start reading your Bible. You start journaling. When you start noticing things about yourself you didn't realize, you didn't know you were still upset about when your first grade teacher told you you couldn't be what you wanted to be at that time. You know, you didn't realize that you were still holding on to the fact that your mom never took you to a game and you wanted her to take you to a game, but she always had to work, and how you felt abandoned by that. You know she loved you and she loved you, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you felt rejected and abandoned. That's awareness. And then acceptance is accepting the fact that, yes, I felt rejected from my mother or my father or whatever the case may be, even though I know they love me. And now step 4, forgiveness, it is forgiving them, forgiving yourself for holding a grudge, forgiving them for not being who you needed them to be. It's okay. But we have to be willing to do the restorative work that's necessary for us to get to a place where we can live our relationship. Too many families are just tolerating each other and just dealing with each other and not really loving and connecting because there's so much scar tissue, so much past pain. We about to come up on holiday season, and you know how many of us going to be getting together with people that we don't want to be around, all for the sake of family, all because you're trying to avoid an uncomfortable conversation that could set everybody free. Just say it. It doesn't have to be politically correct. But just understand that once you say it how you feel. You can't control how people respond to you. You can't control what their actions are going to be, but you have to be very in control and clear about you and what you're feeling and how connected you are, how aware you are, what you're accepting, and how much or less you're forgiving. And I remember going through toxic cycles and toxic relationships where I would get upset and be sad, and now I'm going to reconnect with God because I'm so down and I'm so sad, and I'm realizing I'm being made aware. So now I'm realizing, okay, all right, I keep putting myself in this situation because I'm feeling lonely and I'm feeling down and I don't want to be without him or I don't want to be without them. So I keep putting myself in these vulnerable situations, not the healthy vulnerable, the unhealthy vulnerable, right? That's awareness. And now I have to accept the fact that I'm mad at other people for how they treat me, but I have to accept the fact that I have allowed this. I have played in this game. I have been a part of this as well. That's the only way. If I can't acknowledge and accept my place in it, even if my place is the fact that I didn't do, that's the only way I'm going to be able to move forward and heal and authentically transform my life, right? And so that's why you have to forgive yourself. Well, some people will say, well, I was little when these things happened to me. Yeah, but even as a little child, your little brain tried to process, why is this happening? Why am I going through this? And many times what children do, will tell themselves, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And so you have to forgive yourself for thinking that. That is all a part of domestic violence. The psychological, the mental thoughts that you think that do not serve you well, that's domestic violence, and you got to forgive yourself for that. You got to forgive yourself for speaking negatively about yourself and how negative your appearance is and how much you don't like your body and how much you've messed up and how much you're a failure. You're going to have to forgive yourself for talking to and about you like that. All right, so the fourth step is forgiveness. The fifth thing, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to cut off everything else. What are you going to do now? That's what you used to do. But what are you going to do now? Making a decision is scary because it's like burning the ship when you're trying to take over this island. It's like you're cutting out all your exit strategies, and you're cutting out all your excuses. You're just going at it. Look, I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. I have decided that I'm going to love myself, whatever that looks like, and I'm going to do all that I can to take every step towards authentically loving myself. And once you make that decision, right? Once you make that decision, right, and you say you're not looking back, you have to start taking those steps. You have to do that transformative work, and this is tough work. People try to glamorize this. This is the most uncomfortable, frustrating thing you're going to do when you make a decision, right? When you make a decision, listen, you cutting off that old way. You cutting off those old thoughts. They're going to come, but you're going to have to be willing to do whatever work it requires for you to live this life, this authentic life that you know is yours, for you to have that peace of mind, for you to be able to sleep at night, for you to not have the GI issues and the health issues and the issues in your relationships, aren't you tired of being at odds with people? Aren't you tired of being so easily offended and upset? The only way you will stop doing that, you cannot control other people. People are going to keep doing things that could upset you and frustrate you and make you angry. You have to make a decision that you're not going to let their actions control you. And that requires a lot of work, especially for those of us who have grown accustomed to blaming everybody else for how we feel. Well, you made me feel this way and you made me feel that way. No, we have to own it. We got to own it. Got to make a decision. And the last step, final step before I go, because I got to go, take action. When you make a decision, in order to stay in that space, you're going to have to keep taking action towards that decision. Momentum is the name of the game. You cannot stay still. You cannot sit there flat-footed and just expect. It's like when a prey is being hunted by a predator. If you ever saw a lion chase a gazelle, that thing is running. That gazelle is taking action. Those lions don't always catch them because they made a decision that they wanted to live, and they run with the tenacity that shows, I want to live. They take action. Where do you need to take action in your life? Where are you excessively, hyperly planning and strategizing and planning and strategizing and changing this and changing that, but not taking any action? You got to put yourself out there. You got to make yourself vulnerable. If you are in a domestic violence situation, you're going to have to take action. You made this decision, you got to take action and get out. If you got to leave in the middle of the night, if you got to leave when they're at work, if you have to reach out to an agency or organization for somebody to help you, if your secret is no longer able to be kept, it's time to go. You got to take action. This isn't just for you. This is for the generations to come. This is for your legacy. This is for your family. This is for your purpose. This is why you were created. So I just want to encourage you. We're raising awareness. So don't be playing around with domestic violence. Don't speak negatively towards yourself. If you notice that you can't take a compliment and you're not good at you're not good at receiving love and support and help, you probably being domestically violent towards yourself. If you're in a situation where you're in relationships with people who constantly have to keep you in your place and remind you of how much you don't know or how small you are or how much you need to work on yourself and all the things you can do to get better. If someone hits you because you made them upset or they had a bad day, you got to get out of that. You got to get out of that. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. The domestic violence hotline number, I want to give that to you. The National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. If you have a phone and you want to text, you can text START, the word START in all caps, START, START, to the numbers. You can text that word to the numbers 88788. 88788, text START, START, start your healing process. Let's heal ourselves so that we can heal our families, so that we can heal our world. We can do it. We can do it. Let's work together. Remember, when you master your heart, you master your life. This is Adelaide Brown, your heart coach, signing out. I love y'all. We got this.